are the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New York. But this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks is taking no shorts, just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, episode 632. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I am doing well. We are coming off. We recorded on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday with the
Saturday emergency podcast.
Saturday emergency pod? Knicks got OG. We recorded. We had our immediate reactions to the trade, which Jay and I both were huge fans of. Right after we were done, my kids were not at home, and I went for a run. For my run, I turned on WFAN, and then listened to caller after caller and the host on WFAN on the weekend just go on and on about how this is the worst possible trade. How could the Knicks do this? What were they thinking? This is such a stupid move. The Knicks are incompetent. Anyway, I'm glad to see we're smarter than the people on calling WFAN.
Yeah. Pay them lots of money to have terrible, terrible takes.
Yes, I could not even, like, before we did it, my reaction was just like, this is a great trade. I couldn't even imagine Knicks fans. I understood people would be upset about IQ leaving. I think people were getting kind of soured on RJ.
Yeah, but he was still a fan favorite. You get attached to draft picks. He was here for
Absolutely.
4.5 years. I get being upset about that, but if you take the emotion away from it, it made a lot of sense from a basketball standpoint.
I couldn't even get over, because I turned on WFAN on my run. I was like, I'm going to look at the I think there was a football game or something on ESPN, so I was turning on WFAN radio, and I was like, for my run, I'm like, I'd love to hear people talking about this trade.
Mm-hmm.
I was in shock how much people hated the trade. The criticisms were, everything. They were like, IQ's a budding all-star. How could you trade him? RJ's so good. You traded for, like, this guy you're trading for, like, averages less points than both these guys. You're getting a guy who's going to be a free agent. And and the part about him being repped by Leon Rose's son,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, well, that just shows like he's self-dealing and he's not really interested in the Knicks. I'm like, doesn't it show the guy's gonna? Yes, there's a little bit. That's a little weird, but doesn't it show the guy's probably going to re-sign with the team?
Obviously they got reassurances that he's going to sign long term. They probably already have the number agreed upon. I would be shocked if 30 seconds after he's allowed to sign, they have everything written up and ready to go. Like, I'd be shocked if that didn't happen. It just makes sense. I think everyone does it. You're not allowed to talk directly with the player, but you're allowed to talk as much as you want with the agent. So, IQ is awesome. IQ is really good. He's probably going to be the best player on the Raptors very soon, if not already. But
I would disagree with that, actually. But
yeah.
It's nothing against IQ, but they got Scotty Barnes. He's pretty good.
He is. I just think IQ is going to have time, his moment to shine. But even if not, top 2 player on the team, whatever.
Yeah, I wasn't taking a shot.
The Knicks had 1 million shooting guards. IQ wanted $25 million at least per season. The Knicks had to make a choice. If they did that, I don't think they would have been able to re-sign iHeart, which they clearly need to do. I don't know if you want to get into how amazing iHeart was out rebounding Drummond, which I didn't have that on the bingo cards. 5 blocks. Like, he's been on a block party too the last couple of games. Like, just awesome. Just so good.
Do you know iHeart is a plus 45 in the last 2 games?
I believe it. He's turned into like the new Mitch. Like, incredible defensively. I didn't see that coming. I thought he was going to be worse defensively, but have more of an offensive game. But did you see after he got his 20th rebound, Mitch on Instagram threw his crutches out the window?
I didn't see that. Yeah, he's looked great. He's been a plus 45. OG's been a plus 54. I mean, the last two games. Well, I mean, we can talk about the game in a second. I mean, the first half of the game last night against the Bulls, the Knicks were. It's almost like the Knicks were like, let's spot them the first half. Let's play the worst basketball of the entire season for the first half and still try to win this game.
That was probably the ugliest half they played all season. It was ridiculous. And
I mean, on the ESPN broadcast, they even said this is some of the ugliest basketball we've seen in a half of basketball.
yeah, and they were only down by like 4. And I'm like, if they even mildly get it together after halftime, they're gonna win. And it looked like they all drank Red Bulls and like read a playbook at halftime because like they just came out and destroyed them in the second half.
Well, the third quarter, yeah, like in the third quarter, I guess like maybe they went. Yeah, it was just a totally different half. They ran them over, which is because watching the first half, I was like, are the Knicks going to lose to the goddamn? But I'm like, well, they just had a big win against the T-Wolves, and like maybe they're just kind of, I don't know. Like sometimes you just have a downer right afterwards. Like this is the game. Like you kind of have to win this game. You got to start building some wins. And then they crushed them in the second half.
Yeah, these are the teams you got to beat up on if you want to get to the top half of the standings.
And the Knicks generally, they have been crushing the under 500 teams this year. They haven't. I don't think they've lost to an under 500 team yet.
Yeah, their record against non-playoff teams is ridiculous, which is great. Not a great record against playoff teams, but they've had a million back-to-backs. They played like the Bucks and the Celtics 3 times each. It's been a really tough schedule. 6 more away games than road games.
I mean, they've also had I don't know if you're aware of this, but they had the disadvantage of the first 32 games of the year, they were not allowed to play with OG Anunoby.
That is also true. And
yeah, totally unfair. League rules require the player to have been traded to your team already before you could play him. Messed up.
So can I hot topic ESPN question you right now?
Sure. I love Hot Topic.
Do the Knicks need to make a trade?
Not right. So my mind on this is I'd like to see if the trade's right there and you're like, hey, the deal's in front of us before the deadline, make it. There was talk about like, hey, why did the Knicks make this trade right before the Pacer game? You kind of like threw the Pacer game because you were under like you just didn't have enough players for the Pacer game. And I think Ian Begley was he commented like the trade is there. The trade is there. You can't like wait till after the game. You gotta just make it.
Fair point.
Do the Knicks need to make a trade right now? No, but they need to make a trade by next season.
Okay, that's fair.
I think I would like to see. Well, I guess they need. Do they need to make a star trade right now? No, that's by next season. Do they need to make some other move before the deadline? Probably.
Talking about like a backup point guard or a backup center.
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, clearly the team looks like. I mean, OG has been a huge upgrade from RJ. RJ, no offense to RJ, but they clearly are missing the IQ guy. Tibbs is still trying to figure out the bench. Malachi Flynn has not played yet. Suppose from reading and comments from Raptors fans, they are not big fans of him, so maybe he's not going to bring much. But maybe, I mean, Deuce has brought nothing so far. Maybe Malachi could look a little better. It seems like they need something else on the bench before they get to the playoffs.
I have not been blown away by the Deuce McBride minutes so far.
No, I mean the Knicks also gave him they extended him for 3 more years because they are so confident. And I mean it's a very low risk, like low money in terms of NBA dollars deal. Supposedly Tibbs is unbelievably impressed with how Deuce works and how he looks in practice. It just hasn't translated to games yet.
That's fine.
Usually those kind of things translate eventually.
I think his contract is 3 years, $13 million, which is basically free in the NBA at this point. The cap is so high now. Like
it's nice that the what's free in the NBA is our combined lifetime, half of our combined lifetime earnings.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a zero risk move. So
yeah, no, it's he's a solid player. You can bring him in defense. Like if he'd be any team would be happy to have him as their 15th guy.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if he could play some actual minutes that matter.
Yeah, well, I think the problem is if Brunson has to sit for a game,
you're screwed.
Yeah, like it would be nice to have McBride and somebody else.
Hey, Toronto, can we just borrow IQ for Brunson's out tonight? Can we just borrow IQ for a night? It's just it'll be a fun kind of thing we'll do with the NBA. We'll trade.
It'll be like a new two-way contract.
We'll promise we'll give him back. We won't, but we promise. Yeah. I mean, just in the games when Brunson's healthy. I mean, obviously if they have injuries, that's a whole another issue. But like in the rotation, I almost feel like DiVincenzo, he's playing 20, 25 minutes a game. Maybe he could play 30 minutes. You could give him some of the minutes. You could find some ways. The second unit thing is not working right now.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't get another, and Malachi isn't good, which, I don't know, but like you said, Toronto fans didn't seem to be too upset that he left. Then we might have Point Randle, which is what we've been trying to get away from for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think he was trying to do a little Point Randle. It did not go well in both games. I don't know if Randle wants to do Point Randle either. That's not going to be a solution they'll settle.
Randle has found such a groove doing what he's doing now, cutting down on the 3-pointers and driving constantly. Like, let's stick with that. Like, he's been putting up all NBA numbers for like 25 straight games now.
Jay, I mean, if he's playing like an all-star, you know what that means. We could trade him right now. Let's trade him. I mean, like, if Randle's going to be good, you got to trade him because he's going to be bad, because he's just going to be terrible in the future.
Sell high.
Sell high, says the worst of Knicks fans. I mean, I said this on Twitter, but I was like, and I'm not saying he will be a Hall of Famer, but at his Hall of Fame induction, Knicks fans will be like, maybe we can still trade him.
They released the first results of All-Star voting. Randle isn't even on the top 10, and Brunson is 6th. But Brunson has about 375,000 votes, and 10th on the forwards list has like 100 and something thousand, which means hundreds of thousands of people are voting for Brunson, but not Randle. Which
what?
Knock it
Why
off.
would you
knock it off?
Yeah, I mean, you're assuming most of the people voting for Brunson are Knicks fans,
right?
Why would you vote for Brunson and not vote for Randle?
It's literally one extra click, like.
Yeah. No other team hates their star players as much as Knicks fans.
It's weird behavior.
It's really, really bizarre when he's been putting up since that first 6-game stretch where he looked unplayable, he's been unguardable. He's been goddamn awesome this season. Clearly heading for a third All-Star team. But Knicks fans are still down on him.
Most points by a duo this season, Knicks Muse tweeted that. Randle and Brunson are third.
Oh.
Yeah.
Being first or second would be Embiid and Maxey?
They're second. They're 32 points ahead of Randle and Brunson.
Jokic and Murray?
No.
Or Tatum and Brown?
Nope. The Knicks are ahead of both of them.
Not Shea, because I don't think Jalen has enough.
No.
Dame and Giannis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're having a great. They're having a great season. They're looking awesome.
I mean, even when Brunson's shooting was way off, really, really
like
bad.
A game ago.
Yeah, he still had 14 and 13 assists the last 2 games. So they're doing, and same with Randle. He had an off shooting night and he had 12 boards and 5 assists or something. They do other things when they're off, which is what really good players do. And
Brunson hasn't. His whole time as a Knick. The one critique people had, which beyond his defense not being amazing, but on offense, the one critique a lot of people have had is he doesn't get a lot of assists. He gets 5 or 6 assists most nights.
Yeah,
he has exploded for 14 and 13 assists in the last 2 games.
Career high and second most in his career.
Yeah, why do you think he's suddenly getting so many more assists? And I get you're guys are finally hitting shots, but really, why is he getting so many more assists?
I think because now there is a threat everywhere on the court. So before, RJ wasn't a very good shooter. IQ was a good in spurts, but he was streaky. Now you have consistent shooters everywhere on the court, and so it spreads out the defenders, and it's easier for Brunson to get an open man. because they're, he breaks down the defense, and whoever he passes to can actually hit a shot. So
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot more opportunities and there's a lot more consistent shooters out there for the whole game, because you sub out some of the starters and you still got Grimes and Hart coming off the bench. So not that Hart's been great, but you still got some
Hart hit
shooters
some
off
shots,
the bench.
but
Yeah.
Dante DiVincenzo's been playing great. Part of it also is I think it's really hard to have a guy playing 30 minutes a night for you who's a high usage, inefficient player. Not to knock, I mean, this is knocking RJ a little bit, but I think the Knicks getting rid of RJ alone was a huge improvement, because you just can't have that as part of your starting. You can't have a guy so inefficient in the starting rotation.
Well, not only that, most of his points were off of drives, which is not getting Brunson assists.
Right. Not that he has to get Brunson assists, but it's a lot of, you're right. It's a lot of ISO heavy stuff. It just adds to the ISO heavy net stuff already of Brunson and Randle.
Mm-hmm.
It's clogging the paint to have 3 ISO guys in the starting unit, all who are high usage, and one of them who's been just, I mean, really, since the first 6-7 games of the season, since the migraines, basically, RJ has been incredibly inefficient.
Yeah.
So, which also, if you just look at the 2 first Raptor games, IQ's been very solid plus minus, and RJ's been a negative first 2 games. Not that plus and minus is everything, but if you look at the trade, people talk about what the value of the Knicks could have gotten.
Mm-hmm.
RJ, I think with the contract was viewed as very close to a negative asset. So giving a guy like IQ was the only kind of, I don't know how you would get that trade done without IQ in the trade.
It's a good trade because it seems to have worked for both teams. Toronto's 2-0.
Yeah.
IQ got his starting role. He moved
He's looking
Shooter
good there
to the bench. He's looked really good. So seems to work for everybody. Kyrie writes, I think they need to make a trade for a bench player. We agree. And Jay Shader writes, Happy New Year's, guys. Thank you. Are you worried that OG might get frustrated in the starting lineup the same way Grimes and Hart were?
So my understanding is OG really he was a big fan coming to New York.
Mm-hmm.
He even said he wants a big contract, but he would take less. This is before the trade, that he would take less to come to New York.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be pretty happy there. I mean, also, RJ was taking 17 shots a game. No reason. I mean, if OG wants a bigger role in offense, I think the role is there for him to take.
I do too, but you know what also helps? Winning lots of games.
Yes, winning cures all problems.
Guys who are getting 7 minutes a game off the bench, like McBride, are going to be ecstatic if the Knicks are vaulting up the standings. Until you get that first championship, everybody's going to be happy with a lot of winning.
Yes, right. After you get your first title, which I don't know if there's an after in New York. I mean, I'm sure I assume when the buzzer sounds, the Knicks win the championship, the world ends right after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, winning teams don't really have locker room issues when they're winning games.
Right.
So
I mean that
OG seemed
a Bulls team, that 72-10 Bulls team. Rodman was missing games to go to Vegas to party, and nobody was even mad because they were winning so many games. If they were a 500 team, that would have been a problem.
Michael Jordan was a goddamn jackass of a teammate, even though he played amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a real issue because they just won games.
Yeah, exactly. So winning cures all, and it looks like beating Minnesota was huge. Right off the bat, they didn't even have a chance to practice, and they beat the number 1 team in the West.
I would also say the New York Knicks fan base, when they're behind you, is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the New York Knicks fan base right now is more behind OG than they are Randle.
Yeah.
So I think he's appreciating the love from fans. I don't see him getting frustrated, at least in the short term. Maybe in the longer term, who knows? But in the short term, I feel like he'll be pretty happy with his role. He's getting a lot of minutes. Coach seems to love him already. The coach is wait, I can't play him 48 minutes a night?
He's been good. I know he wants to, but he only played 34 minutes last game, which is good. Let's keep it that way. The guy does have an injury history. Let's not really go above 34 if we don't have to.
I mean, the first game, the only reason his minutes weren't above 34 or 35 was because he fouled out. And in game 2, he had 2 fouls early on. That limited his minutes. Tibbs is like Tibbs. Like this is like the perfect Tibbs player.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, hey, you have a guy who's going to score on offense and can guard every position. Like Tibbs probably always say, oh, Tibbs is like, should I get the OG tattoo now or wait till the off season?
So Philly's next game, that's going to be a test.
Yes,
How you feeling?
that's a
about
tough one
it?
because I feel like Hart's been playing great, but guarding Embiid sucks.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to go off. I mean, there's not much he could do about that, but at least he's going to make his life difficult.
Well, I mean, you can't make it that difficult because my understanding from watching Embiid, and people let me know if I'm wrong about this, but my understanding is the NBA has outlawed guarding Embiid.
It seems like
everything's a foul.
It seems like it's illegal. Yes.
Yeah, if Randle got the level of whistle that Embiid gets, he would score 40 a game.
I mean, Kerr was complaining about Jokic. Wait till he plays Embiid.
Yeah, exactly. Like Embiid it's like a whole nother level of just annoying touch fouls that are like called all the time against Embiid, or the guy against the guy guarding Embiid.
Yeah.
So I'm not excited. I don't like playing Philly at all. But Knicks are looking good. So the two big issues right now are backup point guard / like bench scoring, and Precious Achiuwa has not looked great so far either.
He looked better against the Bulls than he did against Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is like it may just take a couple weeks before he's really like into the groove with the team.
He only needs to play like 14 minutes a game behind Randle. So he just needs to do the Obi role, but actually like defend people.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to play. I mean, he's now the backup center / backup power forward.
Yeah.
But you can. It seems like they're also it seems like the plan is when Randall's off the floor, OG is on the floor, like kind of playing backup power forward, and then Achiuwa moves to the center.
Yeah.
Which
I mean,
seems.
we'll see if anything changes when Sims gets back.
Sims is back.
He was back for Chicago?
He's back for both games.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind that.
Sims is not coming back.
Okay.
Tibbs saw enough of Sims. He's like,
I didn't realize
I'm
he
good
was.
now.
I didn't realize he was activated. I thought he was still.
Yeah, I don't think Tibbs has an interest in playing him.
That's fine. We got to see what he had to offer.
Yeah, I don't know if Sims is going to have need a roster spot next season. It's been a couple years. He's not looked that playable. I mean, he's not looked that great. I mean, Taj obviously hasn't looked that great either. I'm comfortable seeing what Achiuwa does for a little while. By the way, I know you've been calling for Andre Drummond.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say, can we stop calling for Andre Drummond? It's a terrible idea to trade for him.
Why?
Because he sucks. Have you not noticed? He looked terrible last night. You thought he looked good for Chicago?
I mean, he looked all right. He got 15 rebounds. That's nice.
Yeah. Somehow the Toast got 15 rebounds. I'm glad the Toast got 15 rebounds. He's not good.
I mean, again, we're talking about somebody that needs to play 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I could just see what Achiuwa can do, or you might as well play Sims. You're going to trade for Andre Drummond. I just don't think Andre Drummond offers almost anything at this point.
Wow.
I don't know why he's fallen off so poorly. And he was a big body. But
Well, I mean, even in his prime, he was known for being really bad on defense.
He looked just so unimpressive last night. I mean, Iheart looked amazing. Drummond, I'm like, this is the guy Jay wants?
15 minutes. I mean, you're comparing him to playing in a starting lineup and playing 35 minutes. I'm saying, 6
I don't
minutes
think he
a half
gives any
or
more
something.
than Sims, Taj, or Precious gave you. Not anymore. As far as what I'd give up for Andre Drummond, I would give up nothing.
Okay.
If Chicago says literally we'll take nothing for him, I'll think about the trade.
Okay.
Speaking of the Chicago game,
Yeah.
what did you think of? So there were two auditions last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming Alex Caruso played his heart out, and I'm assuming DeRozan also played pretty well because they were like, "Hey, this is our chance to audition for the Knicks."
Right.
What did you think about their auditions? Are either of these guys you would like to add to the team?
I mean, Crusoe's a great defensive player, but I don't know. I don't think he's like in a position of need.
He was first team all defense last year.
Yeah, no, he's a very good defender. Very good defender.
Yeah. I mean, like, you just make the team. Like, you don't think Tibbs would like another amazing defensive player?
I think Tibbs would like all amazing defensive players and to just have every game be 82 to 78. I think he wants to go back to like 95 Knicks Heat box scores. But I think in an era where teams are scoring, for the first time in NBA history, 5 teams scored over 140 points last night on the same night.
This is just like absurd.
It is.
I mean,
it's
the
ridiculous.
NBA is kind of outlawed defense, so this is what happens.
They made it almost impossible to defend players. But that being said, you need some guys that can put points on the board. So DeRozan can do that.
DeRozan, I think, is he going to be a free agent this summer?
Not positive. Bulls, they're going to blow it up, right? Like,
I mean, you'd think so. I mean, Kobe White looks pretty good. They have Zach LaVine they're trying to get rid of.
they said Lonzo Ball is going to start running this month, but this is a long way from running to playing in an NBA game. So I don't know what that means.
DeRozan is getting paid $28 million this year. He's unsigned for the following year, so he's going to be a free agent. I mean, obviously, you could sign him in the offseason. But I guess is DeRozan a guy? If they're going to blow it up, DeRozan. Well, he was hitting some threes last night. Even though he's not really a 3-point shooter, but he's a hell of. He
even
buckets.
looked surprised when he hit a three.
Yeah, I mean, I was like in the first half, he hit like a long three behind like this he hit one long three where I was like, this is bullshit. This guy doesn't hit threes.
Yeah, everybody hits threes
but,
against Knicks. You know the rule.
Yeah. I like they commented on ESPN. I guess someone in the broadcast they were like they'd asked him about like shooting threes. Why doesn't he? He's like, I like to be. And I'm sure he said this jokingly, but he's like, I like to be a contrarian. I go for the twos instead of the threes.
If you shoot at a much higher clip from two, like it doesn't make sense to force a three.
No, it doesn't. What do you think? And he's a hell of a scorer. What do you think about the idea? He's not an amazing. He's definitely obviously not an amazing defender, but like he's 34. He's obviously not in the timeline of these guys, but he's also like he would provide a huge scoring punch. He probably does not like. It's probably a lower trade. He's not going to cost Donovan Mitchell type assets.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like what the Knicks need to do. So Woj kind of hinted what the Knicks' plan is, and it's to make a trade for a very good player this season or in the offseason and then wait for like a superstar to get mad and ask for a trade, and then you have that like all-star, borderline all-star to throw into the trade. So basically, get a guy who's an upgrade for a rental and just wait for somebody to get cranky. Like,
That's the kind of the Malcolm Brogdon idea. Maybe get Brogdon for a first-round pick. His contract, he's paid $20 million next year. If you traded Fournier plus maybe the Dallas pick for Brogdon, and then you have Brogdon signed for next year, you could still trade Brogdon, and he is a pretty good upgrade for shooting guard.
He is. I think he was implying somebody a little more higher status, like a DeJounte Murray or something like that.
Maybe. So
I'm getting a little worried about Murray, by the way. Like, there's a lot of talk that he hasn't been good on defense in a couple years, and he's living off his reputation. I heard a couple say he was a head case. Getting a little nervous about that situation.
Yeah, supposedly Tibbs is going to sit down. They haven't had the summit yet, but he's going to sit down with what's the agency? Clutch. Pretty soon. I think he can't be traded until January 9th or something.
I don't know. People are posting all different stuff. I heard the 5th, I heard the 9th, and I heard the 15th. So sometime in the next 10 days, it could be tomorrow. Everyone's posting something different. It might be tomorrow.
I mean, only from watching, I tend to only really watch the Knicks and who they play. When I've watched DeJounte against the Knicks, he looks like a good defender. He looks like a really good point guard / guard. I don't know what's going wrong with Atlanta. I don't know if it's is it just their guards just don't guard anyone? Like, why is Atlanta so bad? And you'd think they'd be better with DeJounte Murray and Trey.
Okay,
Like, yeah, maybe he's got size. That's for sure.
But then if his defense isn't good, is that because he's unhappy and he's kind of just dogging it? Or did he just have like a fluke really good defensive season in San Antonio? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they say like OG's numbers. OG was awesome on defense last year. They say he's like at least his defensive metrics were on the decline this year, and he's been awesome the first two games as a Knick. And there's probably a good chance that he just knew he was on his way out.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's the argument that Woj hinted at: do you just trade for him, and then when Durant blows up Phoenix, Booker asks for a trade, and now you have Murray to like throw into that.
Yeah, I mean, and also to a certain extent, you can't always be like, well, I'm going to wait for the superstar to be traded. Like, just keep building your team. If it happens, it happens. But you kind of have to just keep getting better.
Yeah, I'm all for like, we you specifically post some trade suggestions on Twitter, and a lot of the responses are that doesn't make us a championship contender. And my argument's like, why not just keep getting better and better, even if it's incrementally? You don't like how many teams make one trade and then they're like, well, now we won a championship. Like that.
They were saying that on the radio. They were like, when they were talking about all the criticism of the trade, they were like, I mean, how do you? OGs doesn't give us a title. Why would you make the trade if you're not winning the title? I was like, you can't. As you just said, like you can't just make the team better and just keep going towards better.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say White, Holiday, or Porzingis singly would make you a championship contender, but then they made 3 upgradable moves, and now they're a championship contender. Like,
yeah.
So
you have to keep building. It's not like a straight. It's not. Yeah. It's also like if the Knicks had given up all their assets for Donovan Mitchell, you know what they'd probably be? Worse than they are now.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have made these other trades. They probably wouldn't have as complete a team. I mean, they could still right now get Donovan Mitchell possibly, but like, so like, here's a thought also. So DeMar DeRozan would cost probably less than Donovan Mitchell in terms of trade assets. Is Donovan Mitchell that much better than DeMar DeRozan? I'm not saying he's not better, but is he really that much better?
No, but he's definitely on a longer timeline.
Yes, that's totally fine. But DeRozan doesn't seem like he's slowing. Like if you're just talking about getting, yes, Donovan Mitchell is a star, so to speak. If you just want a guy who can get you a nice, efficient 20-plus points a night and is really just a threat to score, DeRozan's a pretty good threat to score at all times.
Right. So you're saying
he's not easy to shut down.
If you could get a 20-point score and have it cost 2 less first-round draft picks, it might be worth it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, like he'd give you almost as much as Donovan Mitchell. I was looking at Mitchell's numbers also. They're a little down this year. Does Mitchell give you so much more that you want to trade 4 first versus trading a unprotected and a future unprotected and a protected pick or something? Like you could get DeRozan clearly for less.
Right.
And then you could always you have more assets to build from there.
Do you think the Bulls are waiting to see what's going on with Lonzo before they go nuclear? Because whatever they're doing isn't working.
They'd have to be insane to be waiting for him. I'm assuming basically they've said like, hey, we like Kobe White. We're gonna, I guess, build around him. Patrick Williams, they also decide upon this offseason. I assume they also want to unload Zach LaVine. They're probably ready to kind of just unload for assets. Or getting close to that.
So I did want to touch on there's a rumor going around that the Knicks are interested in Towns. And
it's just because the media keep reporting that for no good reason.
You don't think there's any smoke to it? He is CAA.
I think there's zero. I saw people like, well, I mean, he's CAA. We just got another CAA guy. Clearly Towns is coming here. Why? So forgetting the Knicks portion of this.
Yeah.
Minnesota is having their best season in over a decade.
I think ever.
Why would they move their arguably second or third best player? I guess whatever. Edwards is first, maybe Towns is their second best player. Why would they move Towns?
The contract is the only thing I could think of.
Well, aren't they trying to like win games? They're like he's they're they're having the really not like we're playing the best we've played in over a decade. Let's blow it up now. Like, why are you even playing basketball games if you're doing that?
I don't understand it from Minnesota's point of view. Yeah, why would you mess with the chemistry? Even if you do a Randle for Towns swap, I don't get, like, what if Randle doesn't fit in chemistry wise? Even if you think he's fit talent wise, then you're screwed.
Right. Also, like, first of all, Tibbs previously coached at, which also makes it like I just don't think Tibbs wants to coach Towns anymore.
I don't think Towns wants to be coached by Tibbs.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
This is fine. Towns is not the best defensive player. Like, he's actually a worse defensive player than Randle. Randle actually outplayed him the other day. Towns is a great player. I don't like. He doesn't seem like he fits in with the coach we have, the team we have. I don't see why either. And really, are the Knicks going to move Randle right now? It just doesn't even make any sense.
I saw that rumor and I did not like it, and I just wanted you to take me off the ledge because that doesn't. It's not.
It
good.
sounds like such a fake rumor. Jay, I will give you my kidney if this trade happens.
Also, Towns is way more injury prone than Randle.
Forgetting all that, like Minnesota's just not going to trade. Like no team does this. They're like, we're finally the best we've been in over a decade. Let's trade one of our best players.
Right. Also, even from the Knicks standpoint, where we're about to have like a 3-time All-Star in the last 4 years, let's blow that up.
I mean, how many times? Like, I mean, like, do you think Towns is something going to ask out when the Minnesota's playing so well? Like, I mean, I'm thinking of like examples of like teams doing well and then trading one of their best players. Like the Raptors, they traded DeRozan when they were playing well, but they had gone to the playoffs multiple years in a row, lost multiple years in a row, and kind of just went all in to get Kawhi.
Well, they didn't do it like mid-season, right?
Yeah, like Minnesota would have to have a disappointing season to even discuss this. I don't see, and also for the Knicks, like, let's just say you make the argument like, well, Towns the better offensive player than Randle, maybe. But let's say you make that argument, he's not worth twice the cap space.
Right. Yeah, his new contract hasn't even kicked in yet. He's going to be making $62 million 4 years from now.
I think it's in 2 years you might have to like re-up Randle and Brunson and pay them a shitload of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but you don't want to do that ahead of time.
Yeah.
And there's no way it would be ridiculous. It would absolutely be ridiculous. What do you think of, so just throwing out some like ideas, what do you think of the Brogdon idea?
I think it's a good idea. I know Brogdon's injury prone, but he doesn't have to play heavy minutes.
I don't know if you're familiar with this, but he's been a sixth man before, even the sixth man of the year recently.
Literally last year. So, I mean, that's a big upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, if they would do the Dallas pick, I think I would do it.
That's a pretty significant upgrade. If you're talking about McBride or the reigning sixth man of the year, I would say that's
really gets you exactly what you needed from losing IQ. Like,
yeah.
It just would make so much sense. It doesn't necessarily put us over the top, so to speak, but we're an interesting team come playoff time, and then you could always trade Brogdon the following year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, and it does make them a lot better. And, you know, we've talked about it before. The two of the top three teams in the East are very superstar reliant and will probably not do anything should any of them get even remotely banged up for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, guys can get injured. You can just catch some luck, or maybe you could just beat some of these teams.
The way the Knicks have a lot of potential now. I really like the way they look with weapons all over the court and just intense defense, and I really like the way they look since the trade. I know it's only been 2 games, but I feel like that's even more encouraging because usually it takes some time to find a groove with each other, and the fact that it looks so good on both ends of the court so quickly, I feel like it's only gonna look better 10 games from now.
I gotta say, like, I don't love. I mean, I guess he found IQ in the draft, and Grimes is good also. And I don't love a lot of things Rose has done with the draft, but his moves, he's had some really underrated. Some like he's just made some really great moves. His first year, obviously getting Rose propelled them to a nice playoff run. He obviously getting Brunson, getting
Well, don't
no
forget
one
the run
expects
they
this guy
went
to
on
become
when
a
they traded
superstar.
for Hart.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was a signing, not a trade.
No,
it was a
Hart.
signing, not a trade.
Hart.
Oh, Hart.
Yeah.
Yes, Josh Hart, which was kind of an under the radar move that turned out to be awesome. Not playing quite as well this year, but still a great piece. And the Knicks would not have gone to the second round without Josh Hart last year. Hart, solid backup who's looking like a force this year. He's made some really great moves.
So what they need to do is pair Leon Rose with whoever's doing the scouting for OKC.
Yes.
Because
that
those
would be- that
guys
would be
like
really-
almost never miss.
Some questions. Tristan writes, what guard do we need to pair alongside Brunson in the starting lineup, or is DiVincenzo doing a good enough job?
I am very happy with what DiVincenzo's been doing.
Another amazing signing by Leon. He just targets this guy and like he's looking great. He's shooting like 44% from three. He's been awesome.
I'm almost at the point where I'm like, why are we even bothering upgrading the two?
Yeah, I'm like, he seems like a really switching him in the starting lineup was a great move. He really just like he can nail threes. You really just need that scoring option off the bench right now.
You know, he did start for a championship team like just a couple years ago.
That is true. Can we get his teammate from that team? Because I'm willing to trade Randle and the Giannis trade. Just throwing that out there.
I'm just saying they felt comfortable enough having him as their starting shooting guard.
Yeah, I mean, and he's playing the best basketball of his career right now.
Yeah,
so
he's arguably better than he was then. So
yeah, I kind of want to see how this goes for like I would like them to at least not do any more trades till February. Just would like to see how this goes. But
we're gonna wake up tomorrow. DeJounte Murray's gonna be eligible. They're gonna make a trade. We're gonna have to just delete this episode.
The Murray thing worries me a little bit. Just like what you said, like what people are saying about his defense. I haven't watched enough of him, and maybe he would step up as a Knick.
Also, chemistry-wise, like a lot of these guys are connected now. You got the Villanova connection. Like it seems like a close, tight-knit team. So like I don't know if you want to make a not huge upgrade and potentially like blow up the chemistry.
Is there any way we can get the Nets to trade us Mikal Bridges? I mean, I would like another guy who can guard every position.
I don't know what's going on with the Nets. I mean, we said it the other episode, but I've never seen a team tank mid-game, and ever since then, they've been in a ridiculous tailspin. I think he had to have just lost the locker room. Like, hey guys, we're going to tank
that really
after the
like
first
we're
quarter.
gonna throw the game. We're gonna tank this game is ridiculous.
After the first quarter, when you're up by 8, I've literally never seen anything like that in my life. And then he said in a press conference afterwards that he has no all-stars on the team.
I mean, Mikal Bridges is like, okay, then now I'm really not signing for you guys.
Yeah, seriously.
Frank writes, so I said recently that Brunson is playing kind of out of position and that he's more of a 2 than a 1 and that the team should pursue a true 1 like Murray rather than Mitchell. However, I'm starting to feel that I'm wrong with JB recording 14 and 13 assists respectively in the last 2 games. Maybe Mitchell is the answer. And if not, who do you want to see the Knicks trade for?
Honestly, I think I want to see this team for like a month before I say that I even want them to make a trade.
I mean, I do want a trade made. I'd like to take your time evaluating the players and what you need. Who would you like? Did we ask this last show? I guess who would you rather, Mitchell or Murray? I think we both said Mitchell.
I think I said Murray because I feel like just from a fit standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that, I just think fit-wise, Murray's a little bit better. I know I know Donovan's a better player, but I think Murray's a better fit.
I'm just thinking about what you need in the playoffs. And I guess I just seen Mitchell in the playoffs go off. Not against the Knicks really last year, but like when he was on Utah, he had some huge games in the playoffs. I don't know. On the other hand, also this Malcolm Brogdon idea seems like interesting to me. Like push the All-Star move till the offseason and see what just a improved bench would do for you.
Yeah.
It's an interesting team. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's also Mitchell seems like he would cost the most since he's over a year away from being a free agent. I guess DeJounte Murray's a little while away also. But
Yeah, I think if you wait till next year, the price, just like with OG, the price goes down significantly because they were asking for 3 firsts for OG last year,
yeah,
and now
I also think like the Knicks have 2 first-round picks this year with the Dallas and the Knicks and their own pick. Maybe both picks around 20. I wouldn't mind the Knicks also just drafting 2 players, but just to have 2 more young players to develop on
there's
the
a
roster
novel
who could like
concept.
it's. I don't really want trading guys that's like you're still improving the team. Like try to add 2 young players. I mean, maybe add another backup center slash big. Maybe add a shooting guard that maybe will step up. Like
I mean, I'm of the opinion that you should always use your draft picks. Even if you win a championship, you should still use your draft picks.
what if you're just like a second round exit team? Would you use your draft picks then?
Oh, no, then you just continually punt it down the road. Yeah. Make sure you
Daniel
take
writes,
unprotected draft picks and turn them into protected draft picks. Even better.
Daniel writes, is there a way we can get Jaku Rokas to come here? I can't pronounce his last name. Rokas to come here. He would fit well, in my opinion, on the bench. Otherwise, I'm thinking Brogdon, Burks, or Tyus Jones. Thoughts? Great show as always. I don't like the idea of Alec Burks. I don't know if he adds enough right now. But what do you think about Tyus Jones?
Burks is
He's
shooting,
small.
I think, under 30% for the season. Like, something like atrocious.
I like Burks, but like I thought about him for this past off season, but like the Detroit's also horrible.
Unless Detroit's just cursed. I don't know.
I know he's not playing that. I mean, if you're going to get someone from Detroit, what about
Burks is shooting 36% from the field, which is that has to be close to a record. I can't remember anybody ever shooting that bad.
Yeah, he's been really bad. Bogdanovich, he's been playing really well, but he plays no defense, so I don't know. What do you think about Tyus Jones? He's so the theory with Malcolm Brogdon is why is Portland even keeping him? He'd rather get an asset because they're like rebuilding. Tyus Jones, like Washington's terrible. Why do they need him? Also, you'd rather just have the asset.
He's starting there, so they would have to, I guess, be in blow-up mode. He's starting and he's having the best season of his career.
What's Washington's record, Jay? What do they have? 5 wins?
They're miserable. I don't know what the record is, but I know they're like bottom.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think they might want to just like trade him to get like a first round pick versus just like why even keep. I don't know. He's undersized. He was one of the best backup point guards in the league behind Ja for many years. If you think he's comfortable going back to backup, he'd be an interesting guy to get also.
Yeah. I'd
like
good with that.
Brogdon adds a little more size, so it might be better, but he'd be an interesting option also. Also, Arthur writes, this one on Facebook, I think, on Twitter. We should undoubtedly re-sign iHeart.
Yeah.
People are asking, has iHeart made Mitch expendable? What do you think about that, Jay?
I mean, I really like the idea of having 2 elite defensive centers splitting minutes down the middle. On the other hand, with the way the new salary cap works, it might come down to a decision.
iHeart looks like a guy he's playing. I mean, it's short. He's been awesome he's been unbelievably awesome since Mitch has been out. He seems like, I guess obviously he can get hurt tomorrow, but he does seem a little like less likely to get, not as injury prone as Mitch. I also like just the idea of trying to keep them both.
I do. I don't think salary wise that's gonna work. The new salary cap system it kind of sucks, and it kind of punishes teams for keeping their own talent.
Yeah, all these years they didn't care, but they're like, the Knicks are trying to get good. Let's make it harder.
Yeah.
And the next question was from Base Nick fan: is Mitch expendable? I guess somewhat. But part of that also would really be keeping your 2 draft picks and drafting a center this offseason. So you'd have a real backup, basically. And not this, like, Sims, Taj, Precious kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Also, I mean, backup centers are not... On the other hand, backup centers should be cheap. Like, you might be able to get someone else decent on the market. I don't know.
I like the idea of actually using draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not using them in a big trade, but I'd like to have at least one draft. I'd like to trade future picks as opposed to like we're still building the team right now. And we're trying to get like near the title, near contender soon. You might want to add these picks now. I mean, we have a couple guys in the roster that don't need roster spots.
Great.
So people can say, well, when's this guy going to play and blah blah blah. The guy can play in the G League. Time guys get injured. Like the opportunities open up. And if you have a talented player, it would be helpful.
Yeah. I know you got to run soon. We have 4 of the next 5 games on the road because we haven't had enough road games yet, and another.
Do we have any home games?
Another back-to-back. So the Knicks have 13 back-to-backs this season, which is more than a quarter of the season. I haven't kept track of back-to-backs, but I feel like this is an awful lot.
It seems like a high number. It definitely seems like a high number. So what's the next 5 games? Read them off, Jay.
At Philly, at Washington, home against Portland, at Dallas, at Memphis.
I guess I'm gonna go with 3 and 2, maybe 4 and 1.
Yeah, I mean they have to beat Washington, Portland. They should beat Memphis. 4 and 1. I mean, win 1 against either Philly or Dallas, preferably Philly.
And like 2 very interesting matchups for OG because I imagine OG might be covering Doncic in Dallas, even though like it would just make the most sense, obviously. And then in Philly, I imagine he helps iHeart out on Embiid. Should be interesting.
Yeah, or just slows Maxey down.
Yeah, or slows Maxey down. I'm amazed also how good Philly has been. Like they lost Harden and they became better. So, and Clippers are actually pretty good also. They're seeming to be figuring it out. Also, actually something I want to make a quick point about. Like this trade made a lot of sense for the Knicks. If you're going to upgrade, you have a chance to go from just a much better 3. If you have a chance to trade a bench player and a starter for a better starter, it makes sense. And in the reverse for Toronto, they kind of had a bit clogged at the forward position. I mean, you had Siakam, you had Scotty, Barnes, and you had OG. You didn't need all 3 of them, but you needed guards, so it kind of made sense for them also. I hope things work out really well for IQ. I don't want him necessarily to be an all-star because that would just be really annoying. But I hope things work out well for him there.
I think he's in a good spot, and yeah, Toronto definitely upgraded their guard spot, and they're looking all right so far. So maybe it'll work out for both teams, and everybody's happy.
Do you think they got confused and they thought IQ was signed to a long-term contract and RJ was going to be the free agent this summer?
I mean,
what are you with me? We have RJ for more seasons.
It's kind of the same situation. They would have had to pay OG, so now they have to pay IQ.
It makes sense. And RJ probably will. Maybe they can build. They can
fix
I think
him.
They'll end up having a decent year there. Also, it's going to be a good trade for both teams. Both teams win. Great.
Even if RJ doesn't work out, they upgraded their point guard spot, so IQ is going to be good. So
right, and they could probably, if RJ is not working out, they can move him to the bench. They could cut his minutes a little bit. It's a different team. They can do things that I feel like the Knicks. We were right before the trade. We were saying should IQ start over RJ. I feel like that was a harder thing to do here in New York, like move RJ to the bench.
Yeah, because you drafted him, you had all these attachments, and also just the roster-wise, like you're super small if you're doing that.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm so excited to watch every game now. So I think this team is it keeps getting better.
Well, lucky for you, the next 2 days are both games because we have another back-to-back.
Wait, next 2 days? Today's? Oh yeah, tomorrow's Friday. Yes.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, another back-to-back. So.
The Knicks, by the way, the Knicks play Toronto in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
That should be an interesting game. Okay. Anything else, Jay?
No, I know you got to run. So thanks for listening, everybody. nyknickspodcast@gmail.com. If you want to email us, nyknickspodcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon, and at nyknickspodcast on YouTube. We do all the shows live on YouTube and Twitch. We're Crumpled Bacon on Twitch. It's crumpled with a P, not a B. And
Yeah, and Jay has agreed that if the Knicks get 50 wins this year, he's going to get an OG tattoo. Right, Jay? You're going to do that?
I don't remember saying that.
Jay, you agreed to it. Just come on, man. Don't ruin the bit by like not going through with it.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We will be back next week.
My love